Oh, I told you this morning I was feeling good today for a lot of reasons, but this is one of them. What's good, everybody? Welcome into the Early Wedge, part of the Early Edge universe. We do it every single Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, and there is no rest for the weary. Now, when the PGA Tour put the new schedule together, they put these designated events, and this one just happens to be after the U.S. Open. All the big boys are going to be in Cromwell, Connecticut for the Travelers Championship. Let's go ahead and take a look at the odds provided by our good friends over at Caesars Sportsbook and Casino. And as you would imagine, even with his D game, still a top 5 finish, which I cashed last week right here on the show for Scotty Scheffler. He's your betting favorite at plus 650. But very interesting, Jon Rahm, for the first time in a long time, is not the number 2 player on the odds board. That's Patrick Cantlay. So with all that being said, we've got a lot to unpack. Let's bring in 2 of the absolute very best that does it today. You know him. You love him. Amateur status at the Twitter, Patrick McDonald, and the counselor, Nejad. Gentlemen, very quickly, I'll start with you. Your thoughts that Jon Rahm is dropping down the odds board?
It's interesting. I think it's tournament specific just because Cantlay, he doesn't have an elite history here, but he has a very good and consistent history here. And Jon Rahm's been a little inconsistent as of late. So I'm surprised just like you are, but I'm not shocked by it because I understand that because we're at the Travelers, maybe they're going to give Cantlay the nod, but I wouldn't have done it.
And Patrick, we're in competition with other shows here at CBS Sports, and we're going to dominate every single week. I was watching another show today. I don't remember the name of it, but that star of that show picked Jon Rahm to win the whole thing this week. What would you say to that?
Wow. I don't know what show you're talking about since I don't have the name, but like Sia said, I'm not totally surprised that Cantlay is above Rahm just because remember, he debuted as an amateur here. He shot 60 in his first round. He was in the mix last year as well. He was paired with Xander Schauffele that final day, really fell off the map. I think he shot 76. So this is a guy who kind of has torn up Pete Dye designs throughout his career. It's statistically his best season. He just hasn't won like a lot of these guys because Rahm and Scheffler have been hogging all the trophies, but it makes a little sense. You can get your head around it.
Okay. Well, this week is $20 million. All the big boys have to show up. They're only allowed to miss one. And let's get into it. Storylines could affect the betting lines today. And Zach in the chat says, I kind of like JT to miss the cut at plus 150. He's struggling so bad lately. So we're going to start, Patrick, with you. He not only missed the cut last week. Oh, my goodness. It was so bad that he had to put out a tweet about how bad things happen to good golfers. I actually felt bad for him on Friday. I did. But maybe missing a cut for certain players is a good thing. Your thoughts?
I totally agree, Coach, because you think a lot of those names, Justin Thomas, Max Homa, Jason Day, Sung J M, they're all going through a bit of a lull right now. You know, this game is very ebb and flow, like especially within the season. And it gave them the opportunity to head to Cromwell, Connecticut. They didn't have the stress of contending in a final round of a major championship or over the weekend for that matter. So maybe it could do them some good. I like some of them to maybe make a run this week. JT, probably not going to be one of them, but a few of those other names, absolutely.
It's really ironic because the triumvirate, when you heard Ricky talk about the 2 guys that were there for him every step of his downfall, JT, Jordan Spieth. And now JT needs Ricky and Jordan Spieth. It's really funny. All 3 have gone down, but the other 2 have certainly come up. We expect JT to do that. But we've also seen in these designated events, Sia, that it's kind of the haves and the have-nots. You see the stars have those really low odds. And then everybody else, if you can find the right guy, you can get a big-time payday. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because we conceive of the win equity, being in usually like the top 5 of the odds board. And it is in large part, but there are guys like the Wyndham Clarks of the world, maybe your Kurt Kitayamas. There are guys that are down the board. And I wonder, even though this is a designated event, are there guys that we may have some outright value on? Listen, this isn't an outright show. We're going to be talking about all kinds of different bets. But I do think it's interesting. There's a lot of guys that are just kind of under the radar. Maybe a really good course fit here, like a Tom Kim or a Shane Lowry or a Sahith Theegala. There's just a lot of guys in that sort of 40 to 50, Hideki Matsuyama in that 40 to 50 to 60 to 1 range that I think are really interesting at the Travelers.
this was actually Thagala's coming out party a year ago. He finished top 5, and then he's kind of been trending upwards ever since. So I think that's a great comparison. Also, Russell Henley, Brian Harman, they're great fits for this course as well. All right, let's get into our picks for the day. And if you're brand new to the Early Wedge, first of all, welcome. We want you here all the time. But we do a little bit of everything. And something that's very, very popular in the world of golf is DFS fantasy. How you set your lineups, who you buy, who you fade. So, Patrick McDonald, I'm going to start with you this week. Give me 3 that you like, and give me your fade.
As always, we are going to the clearance rack, and we'll kick it off with the Canadian Corey Connors at 7,700. Last 3 months, he's 15th in total strokes gained, 7th off the tee, 15th in approach, and he's had previous Pete Dye success. You think about his runs at the Players' Championship as well. So you're getting one of the best ball strikers in the game, very accurate off the tee. There's some trouble that arises, especially late on this course. So I like him at 7,700. And then horse for the course, Brian Harman at 7,500. T7 at Harbor Town after the Masters. Outside the Memorial, the ball striking has been very good for him. And this is a guy who has 5 top 10 finishes in his last appearance, 8 appearances here. So there's something about this golf course that suits his eye. Like Connors, Harman's a great Pete Dye specialist. He's always played well at the Players' Championship, Harbor Town, as I said. And then finally, JJ Spawn, 6,900. He's gained an approach in 8 straight. This is a guy we saw flash early in the season. He contended at the Sony Open, another positional short golf course where you got to keep the ball in the fairway. So I don't think he has the winning upside, but if you're looking to save some cash, save some salary, I think him at sub 7,000 is a great price. And then I like a lot of big names this week. Jon Rahm is not excluded from that. I'm just going to fade him. I think a lot of people are going to get into the hype of his final round 65. But he does have some issues, especially off the tee. He's been prone to inaccuracy. The big left miss around the green hasn't been stellar. So because of that, I will fade him at 10-8.
I think it's a good fade. I mean, he started far enough back on Sunday that just like Tommy Fleetwood, who shot a 63, there was no pressure on Jon Rahm at all. He did have a backdoor top 10, but there was no pressure. I don't think this is a good course fit. So I love the fade at all. And I'm just going to publicly call out Michael Breed. You want a piece of me? Come over to the Early Wedge. He's the one that called Jon Rahm the winner this week. And if he wins, then I will certainly let him know I apologize. But Michael Breed, call me. Terrible pick.
Shots fired.
Some internal
warfare.
Getting juiced up here.
Well, I mean, should I not be fired up? I love this more than anything. I just don't like that pick. All right. Now, you guys know what you do to me, too. You get me riled up when you do that. You guys know that. All right. See ya. Patrick, don't. Because
I don't know what you're talking about, Coach. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, you know all my buttons. All right. See ya. Talk to me.
We're going to start with Hideki Matsuyama. He's one of those golfers that we weren't really supporting earlier in the year, and that was for a variety of very good reasons. One is the metrics didn't line up, and 2 is he looked like he was injured. He had that neck injury that he was shaking off, had to withdraw from a couple of tournaments. He seems fully back. When you go the last 20 rounds, weighted tee to green, weighted approach, he's 3rd in the field in both of those. So I actually think this is an underprice. And while he's probably going to be popular, it doesn't look like he's tracking to be as popular as some may think. So I think he's still a pretty good deal at 8,600. Now, Russell Henley at 7,800, I'll warn everybody, because for those of you that are new to DFS, please understand that when we talk about ownership, it is pretty important, specifically depending on what type of tournament you're playing. If you're playing with like your buddies and it's like 10 people in the tournament or 20 or 30, go ahead and play Russell Henley at 7,800. He's a great play. The metrics really line up. He's got good history, checks all of the boxes. But I do warn you, you are playing a massive tournament with a lot of people in it. You might want to pivot off of Russell Henley because it looks like he might be the most owned, most popular guy in this entire tournament. And it's not because everybody thinks he's going to win necessarily, although I think he can. It's because he's at 7,800 and he's just a tremendous value given his recent play and his course history here. So just a note there, if you wanted to pivot off of Russell Henley, I just wanted to throw out like a couple of names that are much less owned than he is. Siwoo Kim is one of them. And then you could go down the board to Aaron Rai, save some money and really take a chance on a guy who's not as consistent as Henley. But again, we're talking about pivots. Mark Hubbard is my other guy at 6,900. I think he's mispriced. I think you could put him at 7,300. The approach play has been great. Putter's been good. Recent play's been good. Course history is good. he checks all the boxes. 6,900 is just a low price for him. And then my fade's going to be Tony Finau. I just don't believe in Tony Finau specifically in designated events. You can call that a narrative if you want, but I'm just going off basically empirical data. So I don't think Tony Finau's been consistent enough for me to justify playing him in DFS at a top 10 price.
Now, before we, reveal our other picks on the show, Patrick, do you have any thoughts on Tony Finau after what Sia just said?
I think that's a great fade from the DFS perspective.
Well, he said he doesn't believe him in tournaments at all that are designated, not just DFS. He said it.
Well, I think that's fair. I think it's a small sample size. We've only had 7 designated events ever. So we still have a long way to go. And this is a guy who did win a FedEx Cup playoff event as well.
So disappointing in you too. Well, in you specifically, Patrick. Now, something we're doing every single day. You shot it. See, he didn't want to come back at you. So we're doing something on the daily show because we're trying to find our next amazing capper. Are you the next Patrick McDonald? Are you the next Sia Nejad? Well, I feel like right now I need to give somebody a chance from the chat. And one of my favorites who is here every single show. It doesn't matter if it's the Early Edge in 5, Early Wedge. She is here every single show. So I'm going to make this a pick for Rebecca. And this is a great pick. It really, really is. So, see, I would love your feedback on Harris English, plus 180, 3-ball for the tournament, Cam Young, and JT. I love this. What say you?
I love it too. And listen, by the way, great pick, Rebecca. As soon as I saw that pick and you started your sentence, I knew exactly where you were going, Coach, because this to me is a really smart play. This is a good 3-ball. Now, listen, there is the possibility that JT can bounce back. I mean, if we go back 4 or 5 tournaments, the ball striking was there for JT, and then it just really, precipitously fell over his last few tournaments. And Cam Young appears to have found something at the end of the U.S. Open, so maybe he's back to some degree too. But I don't want to go with the maybes. I'd rather go with the consistency of Harris English. He was great at the U.S. Open, but has been great in general and appears to be the better course fit of the 3, especially when you consider the middling form of the other 2. So I think plus 180 is an amazing price. Honestly, I might have put this at plus 135 or plus 140. The reason it's not there is because Cam Young's a bigger name and JT is a bigger name. So take advantage of that perception. We live in reality. That's a great number.
Rebecca, you got your first official pick on the show. By the way, Patrick, who was the champion at this particular tournament in 2021?
Fresh off a T4 finish at the U.S. Open the week prior as well. So if there's any concern about a letdown from one, Harris English, he has proven at this event that it doesn't matter.
Look what we just did there. It starts with Rebecca, and we went all the way through it. And we come back to that's a great freaking pick. Plus 180 Harris English official on the show. Love it. Absolutely love it. Kind of ticked I didn't find it, to be honest with you. I really like it. All right. Now, you guys know, last week I actually had somebody complain to me on Twitter about this. Is a true story. I just didn't want to tell you guys until we got to the show. So we had, what was the number on Xander first round leader last week?
It was 35-1.
35-1. So it was a 2-way, correct? So you had to split it, which was basically 1750. Mm-hmm. And I actually had people complain to me that they had to split a winning ticket on Xander last week that both of you picked. We catch plus 1,700 and people were complaining. Can you believe that?
We used to be a country, Coach. Unbelievable.
We used to be all together. It's
iPad kids.
All right. Well, guess what? Even though some of you complained, we're not going to stop cashing these tickets. This is where Patrick and Sia shine. Just shine. So, Sia Nejad, I'm seeing a plethora. So I'm going to put 0.20 units on all 5 of these plays. Enlighten me.
Well, these are interesting because they're all long shots, with the exception of one. I mean, these would normally be in the long shot category, but for whatever reason, these are the first round leaders I like this week, and I just didn't want to put them all in the long shot category. So I'll tell you right now, I have some long shots in the outright market, but no first round leaders. These are all the first round leaders I like. They're going in the morning. I just talked to you about Hideki Matsuyama at plus 5,500. Listen, the ball striking is great. And by the way, he's flashed in first rounds before. He's that guy that can absolutely be 6, 7, 8 under or whatever it's going to take at the Travelers and be in first place. Austin Eckroat at plus 7,500. By the way, Eckroat is 7,300 in DraftKings. He's extremely popular because people are finally noticing that Austin Eckroat is a really good golfer. The ball striking is awesome. The putting can get there. And I think at 75-1, Austin Eckroat is just one of those guys that he's not a familiar enough name to catch 60-1 or 50-1 odds, but that's where he should be. 75-1 is a great value. By the way, all of these guys go off in the morning. Here's a few names that'll surprise you in the triple digits. Lee Hodges. Any of you that have access to strokes gain metrics, go take a look at what Lee Hodges has been doing. I mean, he has been a ball striker. He has been hot with the putter. This is a guy at 100-1 for 18 holes. This is all we're asking in the first round leader market. He can absolutely get there. Andrew Putnam is another guy at 100-1 who was really shining. And, you know, it's not every tournament, but when he marries the ball striking with the putter, he's a guy that can vault up the board. And I actually think he's a very good DFS play too, along with the rest of these guys. And Chez Reavie at 110-1. He has great, almost elite course history here. And the recent history is pretty great too. He is the classic first round leader guy for me for a couple of different reasons. But the main one is there's no chance Chez Reavie is winning this tournament. But the question is, can he get hot enough to win 18 holes? And I think the answer is yes. And he's kind of proven that as of late in terms of what he's done with respect to his recent form. So I absolutely love Chez Reavie at this 110-1 number. These again are like basically one normal play and 4 long shots, but this is what I diagnosed as the best first round leader values and plays. And I think we're going to be in contention again.
And nobody's ever going to question you on that. None at all. Patrick. And then I got something for TJ in the chat after Patrick tells me why Corey Connors could be the guy to lead after 18 holes.
Yeah, single roll of the dice. I do not like that he is off in the afternoon, unlike Sia's guys at 75-1 for Corey Connors, but we will have a morning tee time in the long shot section. Sia, let me get the spotlight there for the first round leaders in that part of the show. But Corey Connors, 75-1, just everything I said. Approach play off the tee. If the putter somehow finds a little bit of form, he's a great first round leader candidate.
All right. Very, very good. So there are your choices. Now, sometimes we forget, and I'm glad TJ wrote this in the chat. Coach, can you guys talk about at the end of the show, and I think it fits good right here, about how you would bet all these? It's overwhelming with all of the picks. Let's make it very, very simple for you, TJ. The head-to-head matchups, I would bet 3 or 4 of those at a full unit. Let's say $100. $100 on those. On the rest of these, the winning, the finishing, chop it up and say 0.1, 0.2 unit. And then like the 5 first round leaders, chop it into 0.1. So if it's $100, put $10 on it. And that way you're not putting a lot out there. Anybody else have any advice? We've got so many new viewers that watch every single week. And I know we give out a lot, but that's what I would do. And then spread it out over the 5 or 6 different sections. Now you only got $500 instead of 2,000. That make
yeah, Coach. I'll start there because I think you're right. I mean, the head-to-head matchups, that's where you would want to go a full unit because again, those are the plays we stress the most. Those are our bread and butter plays. For me in the finishing position market, because I'm just not as emboldened by that as I am the head-to-heads, I usually go down to like a half a unit or 0.75 unit for the top 20s, the top 40s. That's what I mean by finishing position. Now, when it comes to outright and first round leaders, I really encourage you, especially with the first round leaders, to really go low here. I mean, you could really spread 0.25 or 0.3 units out across all of the first round leaders and be okay. Because the reality is if, let's say you hit Austin Eckroat at 75-1 or even Hideki Matsuyama at 55-1, that 0.1 unit you had on Hideki Matsuyama is going to be almost pay for your tournament. So you don't have to go big on the outright market in terms of the tournament outrights or the first round leader outrights. My take would be go full unit on the head-to-head, just like Coach said. Maybe just scale it down just a little bit in the top 20, top 40 market, and then just have fun with the first round leaders. Like we hit those a lot, but at the same time, you can go on cold streaks there. They tend to be gimmicky bets to some degree. So, spread out maybe a quarter of a unit across the whole thing, maybe 0.3 units. You'll be okay there.
Patrick, anything to add?
Yeah, pretty similar. I'm a big kind of ratio type of guy. So first round leaders, it's a 20-1 ratio. So the output will be 1, input 20. And then, oh gosh, did I freeze? Okay, here we go. Yeah. So the way with first round leaders, it's essentially I got to hit 1 in every 20. So that way, if I win one, honestly, like every 4 months, 4.5 months, you're breaking even. And like Sia said, you go through cold streaks, you go through hot streaks. It's an ebb and flow thing. And then outright's pretty similar, but I kind of notch that down to like 12-ish to 1.
Great advice. And TJ, just come here, ask the question. And even if I don't get to it, Sia might, Patrick might, or the chat might. We have the smartest fan base in all of golf betting or betting in general because we do it together. We don't talk down to you. We talk with you. That's what we do here, unlike everybody else. So thank you for being here, and thank you for asking that question. Now, speaking of our bread and butter, look what's coming up next, gentlemen. Oh, it's great producing by the Snake. Head-to-head matchups, which, by the way, on Sunday, I just threw out a cool 3-in-1 day. Had a pretty good weekend outside of the show. This is something that I do. So I'm not going to start. I'm just going to pat myself on the back as Sia Nejad starts our head-to-head matchups. Where are we going this week, Sia?
Well, we're going to pat ourselves on the back a little bit more because we went 2 for 3 on these last week, 3 for 3 the week before, 2 for 4 the week before, 3 for 3 the week before. We're killing, like I'm just talking about me, of course, but we're killing the head-to-head stuff. So listen, of course, there's going to be bad weeks here and there, even the in-tournament stuff. And for the record, the finishing position market, 3 out of 4 for me last week as well. So again, this is why we say this is our bread and butter market. Tommy Fleetwood minus 110 over Tony Finau. Listen, I think Tony Finau, he is inconsistent. He might find something this tournament, but I'm not willing to bet on it when I'm just juxtaposing him against one of the more consistent guys over the last 4 to 6 weeks. Tommy Fleetwood has been really good. I'm waiting for the letdown spot for Tommy Fleetwood. I think it's coming, but I don't think it's coming here. And I think he's going to be better than Tony Finau. So again, when you look at the weighted tee to green and the approach and off the tee, Tommy Fleetwood checks so many boxes, and Tony Finau right now isn't doing that. So I think this is a good number, minus 110 over Tony. Shane Lowry plus 100 over Sung J M. This one's really interesting because Shane Lowry's not getting any respect in the betting market. Like this number, by the way, was minus 120, and now it's plus 100. And if you look at his outright odds, which we're going to address in a little bit, they are really high. Like he's 75 to 1. So there's something going on with the market that just doesn't like Shane Lowry. Seems like a market fade on him. I'm still going to go with it because I don't know the state of Sung J M's game. And one thing we can say about Shane Lowry, while he's not been a top 10 guy, he has been consistent enough. He's putting and the metrics look decent enough for me to say, okay, well, Sung J M's like missing cuts. He's missed 3 out of his last 4 cuts. I think Shane Lowry's, I think this is a discount unless there's something from an injury standpoint that I don't know, but I've looked and there isn't, and he's in this tournament. I think this is a very fair number. It shouldn't be going this way. I'll take the plus money. And then finally, Austin Eckroat minus 135 over Justin Suh. We talked about Eckroat, how good he's been with the ball striking. Justin Suh, the problem with him is he's a good golfer. That's not the problem. The problem is he's leaning a little bit too much on the putter, and this could become a putting fest, and that's going to be great for him, but I just don't think he's going to get there with the ball striking. So I'll take the red hot Austin Eckroat minus 135 over Justin Suh.
Where did Austin Eckroat go to college? See it? Do we know?
Is it Oklahoma State?
Very good, young man. Very good, which is where last week's winner, Wyndham Clark, also went to school before he transferred. And maybe the only player in the history of collegiate golf to be a conference player of the year in 2 different major Power 5 conferences. That's what Wyndham Clark did. But see how I put all that together? Meaning Eckroat could be the next guy.
I was just going to say, you're calling him for an outright win then, right?
Well, I'm saying that he's been on enough leaderboards that he could be in the mix this week. Remember on Mother's Day, he was in the mix. I can't remember the tournament, but he flew his mother in. Oh, it was in Dallas. It was in Dallas because his mother drove. Because he was, remember the last day, Eckroat was in the final group, I believe. All right. Love those picks. And I love giving you the history behind the picks a little bit to help you out. All right, Patrick McDonald. A lot of people are calling you out for backing down from my said showdown, but it is, I mean, you can do whatever you want to do. You're up.
I just had to compose myself there for a second. Sorry, Coach. But we're going to we're just going to fade out the noise. We're going Siwoo Kim minus 130 over Andrew Putnam. Over the last 6 months, there are only 7 players in this field who can say they rank inside the top 50 in each strokes gained metric. Siwoo Kim is one of them. I think Andrew Putnam is a great play DFS-wise, first-round leader-wise, like Sia said. But I think through the course of 4 rounds, Siwoo Kim's quality is just going to outshine Putnam. And then Corey Connors minus 130 over Patrick Rogers. This pick is pretty similar to the next one, which is Eric Cole, even money over Justin Suh. Suh and Rogers, kind of like Sia just said, a lot of short game, a lot of putting at this point. Corey Connors, much more reliable throughout the bag, especially in the ball striking metrics. And then Eric Cole is kind of just Justin Suh with better ball striking metrics at this point, and we're getting him at even money. So I love that one as well.
Hey, Patrick, if you played, I don't know what the number would be, 13 weeks in a row, do you think you'd be tired?
No, because I mean he wears like these joggers, and it's something with the blood. It keeps the energy levels up. So I think he'll be okay.
I just asked a question. I wasn't talking about anybody specifically.
I didn't know.
So personal. Wow.
Jeez.
Well, I was giving you the science behind it, like Sia said. There's levels to this, coach.
That's true. I actually was talking about Eric Cole, just so you all know at home. He's played 13 weeks in a row. Crazy. But I'm not about to call a showdown on that one. No chance. No chance. Now, I'll do mine very quickly. You guys know what I do. I write down all the ones that I like, and I give them out. I love these picks. I mean, I love them. Kevin Streelman, former champion here. I contend he had a better finish to win the Travelers than even Jordan Spieth did. He once birdied, count them, is it 7? 6, 7. 7, right, Patrick?
I believe it was 7.
7. The final 7 holes to win the golf tournament. He birdied 7 in a row, 12 through 18, whatever that is, to win the Travelers several years, like 10 years ago. It was an unbelievable finish. I love him this week over Ben An. Then Harris English. He won 2 years ago. He's playing great golf right now. Hideki simply is not. And I'll take the hot golfer over the non-hot golfer at plus money. Tommy Fleetwood over Tony Finau. All the reasons C already said. Brian Harmon. This is his course. He takes this money every single year and pays for his travel for 12 months. That's how much he's made at this golf tournament. I love him over Seamus Power. And then Patrick Cantlay. Are you kidding me? Did you guys see Rory McIlroy after the U.S. Open? He could not have been more dejected. Sometimes you got to bet with your gut and not necessarily looks at strokes gained, weighted, tee to green, if that was correct. So I love Cantlay, who once shot a 60 on this golf course as an amateur. Yes, as an amateur. And he has been great over the years. I'll lay the 30 cents. Rory might not make the cut this week. I'm just going to say that.
Wow.
He might not make the cut this week. I think he's going to be so non-motivated. And I hate to say that, but man, that was crushing last week. That was crushing. 9 years. 9 years and counting. And what did he say in his interview? I'll keep coming back. I'll get punched in the gut 100 times, and I'll keep coming back. How do you come back from that in 4 days? That's my question. In 4 days. Like how I tell the story with the dramatics. I need to have Snake playing some music in the background. Just to kind of, All right.
We could have hung something. We could have hung something for you.
Maybe next time we'll have that ready. All right.
About to shed a tear, honestly.
That was great storytelling on my part. Well, you guys know I got to pay my two guys very, very handsomely, I might add. Plus, we are showing up all over the place, and we always routinely, you guys see it, we do an entire segment from the early wedge, and it ends up right here.
Get breaking news.
Big news coming out of the NFL today.
Highlights and instant reactions.
The largest final round comeback in Tour championship history. We're down to the final 4.
I just want to take time to analyze greatness.
Talk winners and losers with a guy who's already a big winner.
CBS Sports HQ. It's all sports all day long.
All right, so Zach says Rory to miss the cut is plus 350. Maybe worth a little sprinkle. Who knows? All right. Now, we have arrived at what we call the finishing position part of the show. This could be a top 5, a top 10, a top 20, a top 40. Any of those. So, Patrick McDonald, I believe as per the usual, you will sit out. We're calling in the lefty for this one. Sia, I don't even know if you're left-handed, but you're up first.
Right-handed. By the way, my head-to-head picks, I think Patrick's as well. Coach, I'm not sure about yours. Mine are from DraftKings, just so everybody knows. My third one, though, the Eckroat one, was from Caesars. FanDuel, for whatever reason, didn't have matchups up, which is very, very strange because they always do. Okay, so let's get to the top 20 and the top 40s. Top 20, I'm going to go with Russell Henley at plus 160. I'm probably going to end up playing a little bit more Russell Henley in the betting market than the DFS market, and that's just because his DFS ownership is going to be so high. That doesn't mean I'm not going to play him in DFS, but I'll probably be leaning on this type of bet, like the top 20, Russell Henley plus 160. I think that's a pretty good number. I mean, honestly, I would probably put this number at like plus 120, plus 125. Henley's been playing really, really well. Top 40s, We talked about Austin Eckroyd at plus 125. Really like that. If you look at his, forget about the metrics for a second. Just look at his finishing positions. I mean, he's finishing inside the top 40. Mark Hubbard's another guy who's finishing inside the top 40 on a regular basis. And the strokes gain metrics are really matching up with what he's been doing. And he's got good history here. And then Chez Reavie, we talked about him. Good history here, good recent history. Plus 240 is a great number. And by the way, for those of you that don't know, this is a shorter course. This is a 6,800 yard par 70. So it's why guys like Chez Reavie and Coach's heads up pick with Kevin Streelman, it's why some of those guys really could succeed here. And so I think those are the types of players that you don't normally play that you should be taking an extra look at here.
Patrick, can you repeat after me, please? Coach, you are an idiot. Just say that.
Coach, you're an idiot.
Sia, can you say, Coach, you're a moron?
Coach, you're a moron.
Both of those things would be true because I made not one, but two mistakes in this particular segment. And I'm going to take all the blame. Not Snake. Snake did nothing wrong. I did. I sent them in wrong. Now, the picks are not wrong, but the top 20s are wrong. So Sahith Theegala is a top 20. But Cantlay and Brian Harman, you're probably looking, Brian Harman's a plus 500? Top 10 for Brian Harman, top 20 for Theegala, top 10 for Patrick Cantlay at plus 130. So 2 top 10s, 1 top 20. I don't know how I completely screwed that up, but that's all on me. They're still going to hit, though. They're still going to hit. All right, now, we've arrived at the time that is the hardest thing in all of golf betting to do. I mean, and it's not close, and that's to pick a winner. So, gentlemen, I don't know where we're going this particular week, but so far in the designated events, we have seen the stars, the cream rise to the top. So, Patrick, let's start with you. Who do you think will be crowned champion late Sunday night just outside of Hartford, Connecticut?
Yeah, so this is a guy who has won a FedEx Cup event, and like we said previously, there's only been 7 designated events ever, so very small sample size in that regard. But I love Tony Finau this week at 35-1. He has hit a little bit of a cold spell since that win in Mexico, but 12th in approach last week, 2nd in scrambling. This is a guy who finished T13 in this tournament last year. He likes the golf course, a few other top 25s as well. And then Matt Fitzpatrick, you think about the tournament after the Masters, RBC Heritage. Matt Fitzpatrick was victorious over Jordan Spieth, who happened to win at this golf course once upon a time. Another Pete Dye design. He comes in with 3 straight top 20 finishes, a proven winner. You can trust him down the stretch of a tournament. So at 40-1, I'm all in on that one. And then I'm gonna buy low on Max Homa. You could find him. There's a 70 out there. Wow. I'll be honest with you, but 50-1 for Max Homa. I don't think he's as far off as it seems. He got caught in kind of the bad wave there at the U.S. Open. He's a guy who always puts way too much pressure on himself in major championships, but the course really firmed up on him late, and he lost a ton of strokes around the green. If you span out just a little bit, he has 2 top 10 finishes in his last 4 events. One was Wells Fargo, one was Colonial. Those are kind of those tougher golf courses. So iron play has looked better. The putting's been great. You think Pete Dye design, he was right there at the Players Championship a little bit, finished top 10 there as well. So at 50-1, I'm hoping it's a buy low spot for Homa.
Wow. It's amazing how guys like Homa, JT, who else has been struggling, but man, and now they come to these designated events and they're a top player now. So now that's added pressure. So plus 5,000, that's an incredible number on Max Homa. All right, hopefully we'll get to see it back in a second. But in the meantime, I'll give out my 3 plays. Xander, he's the defending champion. He shot 19 under here a week ago. And I thought at the U.S. Open he had some bad breaks. He made some bad mistakes. But at the end of the day, he was still there on Sunday. And I think he'll bring that game from L.A. to Connecticut. Viktor Hovland, he's just the guy, and Sia agrees with me, that every single week, it doesn't matter if it's a big-time event or a major, his game travels. He's a grinder. A quadruple bogey does not bother him. So I like the number at plus 2,000. You're going to see this number for him almost every single week moving forward. Then Russell Henley, he's great for this particular tournament. Plus 4,000. You heard Sia say it. He's the most played player on DFS right now. The most, what do you call it? Downloaded? Played? What do you call it in DFS? Owned. Okay, owned. See, I don't do DFS. We all have our things. All right. So quickly, Sia looks Viktor Hovland, Colin Morikawa for obvious reasons. He's a great iron player, and iron players need to play well, or normally do, then Russell Henley, like myself, and then Hideki plus 4,500. And Hideki had some moments last week as well. Okay, we have one more section left. But before we do that, we've got to pay those pesky little bills. One more word from an incredible partner.
And how about this?
Get ready for non-stop action that will have you say,
You gotta be kidding!
"Oh my, Canada."
What a play and what a finish!
That's some pretty good football, eh?
He's gone all the way to the house!
It's the Canadian Football League, Friday on CBS Sports Network.
Doesn't matter the continent, the country. We've got football all year round here at CBS and Paramount Plus. Hey, see, if you don't want to work for 40 minutes, just let us know. Just let us know.
Well, to be honest with you, Coach, I was so upset about your top 20, top 10, top 40 snafu that I had to collect myself. And I didn't want to do anything on camera. This is a live show. So it was just one of those things. I had to duck out for a second. And that's not on me, Coach. It's on you.
Very professional.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And it was unprofessional of me to make that mistake, and that will sit with me. Those two mistakes will sit with me at least till the end of the show. All right, so it's time for our long shot segment. Now, this is a segment that we could put anything. It could be a long shot win. It could be a long shot head-to-head. Could be a long shot top 40. We don't know. We don't know. Well, I know. You don't know. All right, so, Sia, I'm looking down at you, and I'm seeing two names, and one I absolutely love that started his heater a year ago at this tournament. Let's start with him.
Yeah, we'll start with Sahith Theegala, and this is really a numbers play. Listen, he probably should have won last year. I think it was a terrible approach on 18 that really kind of ended up doing him in, but he was in line to win that tournament, and he's the type of guy. First of all, I love that he has good course history here, but he's the type of guy that anytime you see a number at 75, 80, 90, 100 to 1, you kind of just have to fire because Sahith can get really, really hot. Really everywhere. Off the tee, he can spray it a little bit, but on approach and with the putter, the guy can get hot, and I honestly think he's a rising star. This is a pretty disrespectful number. Now, listen, it's 90 to 1 for a reason, but my point is I wouldn't put it at 90 to 1. I would put it at like 65 to 1 or something like that. I think there's a ton of value here, and same with Shane Lowry at 75 to 1. I think there's a ton of value there. I don't know why his number dipped to 75. It's because he hasn't been closing. He hasn't been winning. But on this particular course, I think Shane Lowry will be fine. I'm waiting for Shane Lowry to show us the ball striking that he showed us last year. We haven't really seen it yet, but I don't think it's gone forever. So at 75 to 1, I'm willing to speculate and find out if it's here at the Travelers.
He's a great iron player. And one thing that we don't talk a lot about is players being in shape and playing a lot of weeks in a row. And we're starting to see that now. This is a very easy walk. A very easy walk. It's not up and down like a lot of courses. So, and I'm not saying Shane Lowry's out of shape. I'm just saying there are certain guys that don't close, and there's a reason for that. What are they? Well, throw out a bunch of things, and being able to finish and being strong when you finish. That's what a player wants to do. All right. Now, Sepp Straka, that number, Patrick, for the first rounder, this dude is live every time he shows up these days.
Yeah, and this is a first-round leader bet because, like you said, Coach, he's not quite in shape. We call him the septic tank around here. And so we like Sepp Straka 110 to 1. To be your first-round leader, off the tee, he has been great, and he's had some real spike performances with the irons his last 4 tournaments. I mean, he struck the ball beautiful there at the PGA Championship. And like you said, Coach, he's always live for a first-round leader. You think about shorter courses where he's played well, Hilton Head, TPC Southwind, PGA National as well. So I think TPC River Highlands is right in that ballpark as well. And he's got the morning tee time.
All right. Very, very good. That's very important as well. By the way, Zach says, I love can't lay top 20. Well, his number is in the minuses for top 20, but he has a plus number for a top 10. Let's be very clear on that. If you go and look at, I can't believe these designated events. How many players were there, Sierra Patrick? Probably 10 that had a minus number for a top 20. That's unprecedented. I mean, at least 10 to 15 guys are minus 150, minus 140. That's crazy. Absolutely crazy. But that's what we have at these designated events. I can't thank all of you enough for finding us on 3 p.m. Eastern on a Tuesday every single week. Go ahead, hit that like button for me before you get out of here. But as we always do, we like to end every single one of our shows asking my guys what's the number one most important thing they're looking for this week. Use it in your handicapping or use it in the future. Knowledge is power. Patrick McDonald, start us off.
I think you're going to see a big bounce back performance from some of these guys who have been struggling lately. I know Jason Day's missed all 3 cuts since his win at the Byron Nelson. He's been dealing with a bit of a wrist injury. You think Sung J.M., he won the Korean PGA before he really fell off the map. And then someone like a Max Homa and a Justin Thomas. So I think this is a week guys are going to kind of get back on the up and up right in time before the last major championship of the year, because outside of this, a lot of them we're not going to see until they play in the Scottish Open.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Matt says the show is seriously a cash cow. You guys are the best. Love the show so much. Matt, love hearing that. Love having you here and everybody like you. We're building an incredible community. All right, see ya. What are you looking forward to this week the most?
Yeah, a couple things here, Coach. I mean, one is I'm really curious to see how guys like Ricky Fowler, even Xander Schauffele, Wyndham Clark, how they come into this tournament, because it had to be at least a little deflating for guys like Ricky Fowler and Xander Schauffele to go from the U.S. Open to this next designated event after what we saw from them Saturday and Sunday. And then Wyndham Clark, as a former winner, or I should say last week's winner, I'm just from a narrative standpoint, I think we all have these preconceived notions of how they're going to enter the next tournament. So I'm going to have my eye on those 3 in particular. And then Scotty Scheffler, one of those other guys that was in contention, is he going to keep up the ball striking? I mean, I think we're all kind of waiting for the putter to come around and then he's just going to dominate the field. But I'm just curious from a tee to green standpoint, can he keep this up? Because this is amazing what we're seeing tee to green. And if he's just a decent putter, he's probably going to win every tournament. As much as I want to see the putter maybe turn around, I'm waiting for the tee to green to maybe fade a little bit and give room for guys like Rahm and Rory and Cantlay to win a tournament.
They're Tiger Woods type numbers that we're talking about from tee to green. I mean, it's absolutely bananas. Last week, he had legitimately his D game, top 3 finish. That was his D game, top 3 finish.
His putting on Sunday was like hilarious. Like it wasn't close. None of them were close on the back 9.
At all. You're absolutely right. By the way, shout out to Rich in the chat. First time, he says, great show, y'all. Hashtag pay window. Rich, tell all your friends. Everybody, let Rich know how we welcome people here at the Early Wedge. Everybody's welcome. Come on in the deep end. Water's warm. All right, for me, look at that smile on the picture, too. More people need to have a picture next to their name. Welcome, Rich. All right, now, for me this week, and we've been talking about it, guys, for a couple of months now, but now we're down to 1 major left, so a lot of the focus for the top tier players is the FedEx Cup playoffs. It's more money now. It's less players now. It's only 70. So yes, you keep your card if you're inside the top 125, but you only get to play in the playoffs if you're inside the top 70. And nobody wants to be number 72 or 80 or 85 or 90. So this week truly starts that march towards the FedEx Cup playoffs. Who's going to make that march successfully? Who's going to fall off? That's what I'm looking to see this week. Another great show, another great audience. We can't thank you enough. With all that being said, there's only one thing left to do, and I believe you all know what that is. You've got your marching orders. Let's take all of these Early Wedge tickets straight to the pay window. For my entire crew, Lobo, Patrick McDonald, at Amateur Status on the Twitter. The counselor, Nejad. The snake, always on the 1s and 2s. He doesn't make mistakes. This guy does right here. I am simply the coach trying to keep this train on said track. We grind for you so we can win with you. It's what we're all about at the Early Edge and right here on the Early Wedge. Good luck.